You know, it really does amaze me how much the picture quality has improved on cinema cameras over recent years. Even on my relatively affordable little FX6 here. Trouble is, I don't think the quality of the viewfinders has kept up. So now, a good quality on-camera monitor has become essential if you want to be sure you're nailing that shot. And if you're editing, you'll probably want another larger, colour-accurate monitor as a reference. Then there's the production monitor, so everyone's not breathing down your neck when you're trying to work. And it occurred to me that this is a piece of kit that doesn't really help me shoot. It's more for my client's benefit. Obviously, I want good picture quality because that makes my work look good and keeps my clients happy, but I don't want to spend a mad amount of money on something that isn't really for me. Plus, you know your clients are just going to cover the screen in spit and sticky finger marks. I think I've found the answer. Ta-da! The Megamon 15 from Osee, and that really is a great name. I purchased this monitor about 6 months ago from Pro AV, one of my favourite dealers in the UK. But ironically, about a week after I got it, Osee got in touch and offered to send me one for free. Obviously I said no thanks, but this might explain why you see so many glowing reviews for it on YouTube. The good news is, Osee have no idea I'm even making this video, so I'm totally free to say whatever I like. And I will. When you unbox the Megamon, the first thing you'll notice is this rather smart case. It's really nicely designed, and it's standing up well to life on the road with me. It has a hole in the bottom which allows you to mount the monitor on a light stand without taking it out of the bag. Opening the back gives you access to all the connections and somewhere to store cables, and the front opens to provide a very useful sun hood when you're working outdoors. It's a bright 1000 nit screen, but this case is great and works well when you're in a rush around multiple locations. Of course, you don't have to operate the monitor inside the bag. It easily pops out and you can still drop it onto a light stand with the solid mount on the back. You also get a couple of feet, presumably for standing the monitor on a desk. However, unless you want to permanently use the monitor on a tabletop, you probably won't use them. They're held in with tiny screws, which you will lose, and it's much too fiddly to swap the feet when you're working. This calls out for a better design or something more permanent. Maybe they need to swivel from the base or pull out at the back. Anyway, with the monitor out of the bag, you can get a good look at how it's built. The back and the chassis are all made of metal, and the front is a solid looking plastic. After 6 months of use, I'm confident that the Megamon will continue to stand up well to life on the road as a production monitor. Looking at the connections on the back, I have a V-lock for batteries on this one, and you can order it with an Anton Bauer mount if that's your preferred style. You can also power it with mains or just a 12-volt supply through the 4-pin socket. For signal, there's 2 SDI inputs, 1 output, an HDMI input, and even a composite video input. Does anyone use those anymore? If you do, there's also a 3.5mm audio input. What's really nice to see is a cheese plate near the top. I'll often leave a video receiver permanently mounted to this, and I can power that from the V-lock. Makes for a very neat and easy to rig setup. Around the front, we have a headphone socket, USB for firmware updates and loading your own LUTs, and the usual row of identical buttons. Let's finally turn this on. And the first thing I notice, there's no fan. Unlike some I've tested recently, this is entirely passively cooled, so in theory no noise. Although I have noticed there's a very slight high-pitched whine when I'm running on batteries. Unfortunately, these buttons are not backlit, and there's no tactile way to tell them apart. It's not a problem in a well-lit room, but production monitors are often used at the back of sets, which are sometimes quite dark. Maybe if the up and down, left, right and OK buttons were embossed, that would help. As it is, if you can't remember which button's which, you'll need a torch. And this is linked to the biggest issue I have with the Megamon 15, the user interface, or menu structure if you prefer. It's rubbish. And you can see that that's where Osee have saved some money. Maybe they should look at how Blackmagic design a user menu. However, there's no shortage of professional tools and display modes in this menu. 44 SDR and HDR LUTs, different gammas, markers, waveforms, vector scopes, histogram, zebras, false color, anamorphic modes, and color management. The problem is, navigating around this menu is not at all intuitive. For example, if you use the direction buttons to find what you want to change, let's change the camera LUT. Here it is. Find the one you want to use and then go back out of the menu to carry on with your day. Only to find you forgot to press OK to confirm your choice. Why do I need to press OK? I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a side rant here about this menu system. Luckily, it's not actually a deal breaker for me because I only tend to use about 3 different setups for my monitor. Maybe for different cameras or whether I'm shooting log or Rec 709. What you can do is store your different configurations on one of the 4 user memories. A long press on any of these buttons will switch everything and reboot your monitor in one go. In reality, once I've got my monitor set up the way I like it, I rarely play with the menu at all, so it's not a big issue, but I wonder if you can improve the user interface with a firmware update. Anyway, what's really important, and what you probably want to know about, is the quality of the screen. And wow, I've been blown away with how good this picture looks. The specs say it's a 1920 by 1200 resolution, 10-bit, 16 by 10 aspect ratio screen. But it looks better than those figures would suggest. It has 1000 nits of brightness and 14:50:1 contrast ratio. And there's no doubt that this glossy screen helps with the black levels. I've met some people who prefer matte screens, but I'm definitely not one of them. Give me a glossy with all that contrast every time. It really is a gorgeous picture. And the quality of this screen is punching way above the price point of the monitor. I've seen monitors that cost 3 times the money that don't give you a picture this good, which is intriguing because I don't know how Osee are doing a 10-bit monitor for the price. It must be an 8-bit panel with that 8+2 frame rate control trick, surely. The specs say 10-bit, and many dealers are saying it's 10-bit, but how can you do a definitive test? 8+2 FRC works by alternating colours on pixels so quickly that you perceive them as a different colour, almost as if the screen has a higher bit depth. I wondered, if I displayed a perfect gradient and shot the screen in super slow-mo, would I be able to see these pixels flashing to make 8-bit look like 10-bit? How quickly are they changing colour? I gave it a go, but all I could see was the compression artifacts from my slow-mo camera. I only know that because I tested it against the true 10-bit of my Apple XDR monitor, and it looked exactly the same. In the end, I gave up with the conclusion that if the picture looks to my eyes like a 10-bit screen without any visible signs of the normal 8-bit banding, then what am I testing for? If it looks like a 10-bit and walks like a 10-bit, then that's all that matters. The other thing that I was puzzled by was the 16 by 10 aspect ratio of this screen. Nobody shoots 16 by 10, so with video you're always going to get small black bars at the top and the bottom. It's not an issue for me, but it did make me wonder if this was originally a screen designed for a laptop. Maybe that's why it looks like the Retina screen for my MacBook Pro, which is not a bad thing. So I got my macro lens out again, and I started to count the pixels. Seriously. 1005, 1006, 1007. Oh, crap. This is definitely a 1920 by 1200 monitor, and for 16 by 9 video work, you'll get the correct aspect ratio, but with small black bars top and bottom. However, the quality of this 15.4-inch screen makes it look like it's higher resolution than standard HD. Maybe somebody's tweaked the edge correction or the peaking, and they've done a good job because there's a smoothness to the edges and the diagonals, and it looks like you could be watching a picture that's been downscaled. Now, I've gone off on one here because none of this really matters. It doesn't matter where the screen comes from, and it doesn't matter if it's 10-bit or 8+2 FRC. All that matters is what the picture looks like from your camera. For the money, which is significantly less than the serious competitors, I don't think there's anything to touch it. This Megamon 15 from Osee looks wonderful, and my clients seem to love it, so I'm happy. Thanks for watching. Oh, and while you have been watching this video, our little planet Earth has travelled about 12,255 miles through space.